Have you ever wondered how it's possible for gliders to fly really long distances? This video will take you through the entire process, but in less than 90 minutes. I'll start with a map of the whole flight and very briefly I'll give you an idea of what happens on each leg. After that, I'll fly the entire task from launch to landing, but with much of the steady cruising or circling left out, essentially. There's no sped up bits, that just kills the immersive feel, I reckon. Instead, I've edited to boost the aesthetics of the glider and the landscape from all kinds of perspectives. This is not a tutorial on Condor 3, but if you're a beginner or even a club level cross-country pilot, you'll pick up some interesting bits of soaring info, I'm sure, either from what you see or from what you hear me say along the way. I'm Tim Parrish, and I hope you enjoy checking this all out. This flight over the default landscape has 9 legs. Yep, that's a lot, even for a very long flight. The legs are blue lines on the map and each one turns red as I talk about it. The first red one's up there already, near the middle of the map. Early in the day, we take an aero tow onto the southern side of the valley, which is generating weak slope lift. After leaving the start gate, we head east and rely on that slope lift for most of the way. Thermals are still getting going at this point. After rounding turn point 1, thermal conditions are starting to improve and we can climb quite high and cruise much faster than before. After rounding turn point 2, thermals are even stronger due to the time of day and we make quick progress in a north-northeasterly direction. After rounding turn point 3, we start to notice conditions getting a lot more overdeveloped, with rain and lightning here and there. After rounding turn point 4, we get a short burst of better weather before approaching more mountainous terrain. After rounding turn point 5 and heading almost due west, there's definitely slope lift down there, but it's not hard to stay high in the thermals. Further along, there's a very long valley that has plenty of thermals down each side, but it's pretty dead in the middle. After rounding turn point 6, we face a heart-stopping scenario, a downwind dash towards very high terrain. Fortunately, it's just possible to sneak over the crest and into the deep valley beyond that extends to the south. Turn point 7 is where the valley takes a turn to the southeast. It's getting late, but there's no option but to use occasional slope lift, despite the less than ideal wind direction. After rounding turn point 8 and heading east back to the runway, the breeze direction's great and the strength is supposed to be several knots higher than when we left. But if you're too low on the slope, things can get rather interesting. Here we go in the Antares, 18-metre sailplane. Okay, got the tail off, keeping the wings level. Just waiting for the tow plane to lift. There it goes. We'd land straight ahead if we had to at this point. Or off to the right somewhere as we get a little higher. It's a nice view of the husky there. Huskies are very much like a super cub. You can just tell it's a husky because of those squared off wingtips. That's probably the easiest way to tell them apart. They look so similar. Now we're going to head back down the valley. See that big ridge to the left, just to the left of the tow plane. We'll be ending up quite close to that high point. There's the runway below. We took off from this end. Heading towards that slope on the left. You can see that peak just to the left of the tow plane. We'll be going up there. Some nice lens flare effects in Condor. Approaching the release area now. You'll see the tug pull power in a moment. Then it'll be time to let go. Alright, there goes the tug, he's powering down, so we pull the release. Watch him peel away to the left and up with the undercarriage. That's the switch I've got with my left hand there. In the background you can just see the glider against the hills in the distance. We're well inside the start gate just now. We'll be turning back towards the direction of the leg that we're going to fly. The slope lift at this point is not particularly strong, but it's enough to get started. We'll fly fairly slow so we can gradually work our way towards the top of the crest where the best lift is. There you can see on the flight computer we're right plumb in the middle of the start gate, approaching the start line. Now we're well beyond the start line. We're slowly gaining height. In fact, it looks like we're pretty much near the crest now, which is good. Except that the terrain is becoming taller as we go along, so it's a never-ending process of trying to gain a little more height. Tucking in nice and close here, trying to get into the best lift. Flying quite close to best glide speed, just to try and make the most of this lift. Now we have a choice here. We could duck round to the right and continue on, but I'm going to take the safe option and just work the slope to the left. Go. Sometimes in complex areas you get a bit of sink when you don't expect it. So the air flows around as well as up and over. Some more high terrain coming up, and it's quite irregular now, so we have to really look around for the best spots to try and stay in ridge lift. This looks like a pretty good ridge, but we've got to get a lot closer to find the rising air. Cut back our speed a little to try and reduce our sink rate. So we get back up closer to the crest. Still edging closer. That's better. Got to be a bit careful though. You don't want to brush a wingtip on a tree. That's disastrous. Just dropping a bit more flat there. Support our slow airspeed. Well, looks like we've bumped into a little bit of thermal lift for the first time. We'll just check it out. We still have some slope flying options up ahead though, so we might not stick with this. We'll see how it goes. No, we'll just keep going, I think. Straighten up. A couple more slopes ahead. See the little bit of lightning in that cloud. Now there's an airspace warning on the flight computer, which is actually shouldn't be there because I've disabled that airspace when I flew the flight originally. So it's a little bit of an issue in the replay. So we'll ignore airspace from now on. I'm just taking the opportunity to gain a little height at this point because the ridges are not consistent anymore, and in fact we'll be heading for flatter terrain in a while, so we need some height. It's quite strong, this lift. Don't want to fly through that rain, that'll affect the performance of our wing, so we'll just stay clear of that. Straightening up on track. Now we have plenty of height over the crests, even though it's fairly mountainous terrain, so we'll continue to make some use of slope effect. Oh, that looks good. We're leaving that behind. We didn't want to fly through it. It will affect the performance of the glider if you get too much water on the wings. As you can see, we've got the speed up. We're over 100 knots now. Starting to make quicker progress along the leg. Leaving that rain shower far behind. Now we're nearly at the cloud base at this point. Can't enter cloud, that's against the rules, so we'll straighten up on track and we'll just alter our speed to try and stay just below cloud base. If everything starts misting over, just push the nose down a tad. Well, there's not a lot of slope lift up ahead. We're just going to have to make a beeline for that cloud in the distance, just near the yaw string there. And we won't overdo the cruise speed. We'll just fly a little conservatively. Make sure we make it. What a nice looking cloud marking the lift there, but the height of the ground is a little bit of a concern. This is a bit of an anxious moment. We're really going to have to hang on to that lift. Although if we had to, it looks like there's a bit of a slope off to the left there that we could probably stay airborne if we had to. Here we go, approaching the thermal. Some fairly strong thermal-induced sinking air as we approach the core of the thermal. Very close now. I'm just looking at the cloud to try and head straight for the middle so I don't miss the rising air. Here we go. There's definitely something here. Just need to find the middle. Oh, there we go. Straighten up there. Pull back in. And again, just working our way towards the middle. Just over 7,000, approaching 7,200. Not too many spots to land around here, but we're fine. We've got plenty of height. In fact, we've topped out over 9,000, so that's good. Just heading for the turn point. Getting quite close now. And here we go, turning onto the new heading. Here we are in the first thermal along the second leg. able to cruise fairly fast now because the lift is improving all the time. Getting towards the middle of the day. It's quite a nice view of a township down there. It's a whole bunch of 3D buildings. Nice close-up view there of the panel. Not a lot of cumulus clouds around. Looks like we're approaching a hillier area, but that's okay, we've got plenty of height. And looks like we've got some good lift sources directly ahead as well, so that's good. Quite close to cloud base as we approach this one. So we'll just pull up, drop a bit of flap, and we'll just fly straight through, just taking advantage of the lift as we encounter it. When it starts to die, we'll push down and return to cruise. There goes the nose, looks like I'm putting on speed. Landing opportunities are fairly limited down there. We've got good height, but we should be okay. Doing about 110 knots, which is the appropriate cruise speed. Slight nose down attitude you can see there as we push along fast on the second leg. Some bad sink right there. Where there's strong lift, there's also strong sink that surrounds it all around the edge. The idea is to make sure you don't fly too slow in sink. You want to get through it. Just glancing up at the cloud to manoeuvre in. Go left this time. Just topping up height-wise. Small adjustment there to edge towards the middle of the thermal, hopefully. And another one, straighten up, take a bit of bank off, and the vario needle increases, and then put it back on. The trick is knowing when and how long. It's a good thing we're fairly high. There's fairly challenging outlanding conditions down there. Looks okay off to the left as we're approaching. There's that nose down attitude again, 110 knots in the Antares. Full load of water. There's the vario, straighten up, crank it back in. Oh, look at that, on the stop there for a while. Try and work this up to cloud base and then continue on. Thermaling around 65, 70 knots with a full load of water is about the right speed with the +1 flap set. Approaching cloud base, it will soon be time to roll out. I'm just taking a bit more in the other direction. Well above 9,000, that's good height. That should take us all the way into the turn point, which you can see in red on the flight computer. And we're approaching it now. Some thermal sink. Let's just get through that. Keep the nose down for a moment more, and here comes the lift. So very close to the turn point, we've got another thermal, we might as well take it. Just top up height, ready for our next leg. You can see me washing off some speed there, raising the nose. These thermals are reasonably wide, so no need for a lot of bank angle. So here we are on leg 3, just heading away from the turn point that we've just been to. Getting off track a little bit, just heading for this very juicy looking cumulus. After gaining a bit of height there, we're heading back to cruise. And as I've already mentioned, we're ignoring those airspace warnings for this flight. It's a bit of a replay issue in Condor. We'll resolve that later, hopefully. Some quite severe thermal sink around as well. Where there's strong lift, there's strong sink. Not far away, so you just have to fly through it quick. You don't hang around in sink. Turning back on track. A red bug at the top of the computer there, in the middle. Terrain looks a bit interesting on the right there, nowhere to land, but we've got plenty of height, so we're fine. Just slowing a little to so we don't fly straight through this. As you can see, there's a little bit of overdevelopment around in this weather. The rain and the clouds behind the aircraft. And we're just pushing straight on. Got a bit of height. Some more rain over there towards the west. We're not far below that cloud, so you can see the motion as we fly past. See a little bit of movement in the wingtips there. In Condor 3 they've modelled the inertia of the wings, so they flex up and down very realistically. Pushing along over 100 knots, heading almost due north according to the computer, and we're still, that figure at the top left of the computer, or down the bottom but the top left of the group of numbers, was the distance to the next turn point, which was 131 kilometres. Reasonably landable terrain down there. Plenty of 3D buildings. Just looking up here to make sure we head straight for the middle. Give ourselves the best chance of contacting lift as we approach. Slowing up, raising the nose a tad, and just having a bit of a sniff around, see what we can find. Looks like we're approaching some pretty flat terrain up ahead. Well, that was off to the left a bit from this perspective. We're approaching the range of hills that we actually slope soared along on our first leg. So we'll take a few minutes to get across that. But if we stay high, we can keep cruising at the normal speed. It's not too rugged. Some dead cumulus up there, nothing under that. And as I've mentioned before, we're just ignoring those airspace warnings. Alright, we're just floating with the underside of the cloud here. If we get sucked up a bit high, we can just push the nose down and turn that into speed. Make quick progress in a straight line. That's a nice thing about flying along a bit of a street of clouds. Right, about 70 k's or so from the turn point. Just looking up at that cloud, just to maybe we'll gain a little height here. Just feeling around, trying to find, oh here we go. Just top up our altitude, get over those crests that were ahead. And at this point we've almost reached the line that we flew on our first leg. That's the blue line going across from left to right on the flight computer there. Some minutes later we've gone past that point, heading basically north, northeast I guess. Some nice detail down there, lots of buildings. Now it appears we have a bit of a cloud street ahead. See them there just to the left of the panel. So we'll attempt to fly along under there, take advantage. Even though it takes us off track a little bit, that's okay. You can get to your goal much faster if you follow a cloud street. A patch of bad sink there as well. So we'll just try and take advantage here, flying in a straight line for as long as we can. And not that far from cloud base actually, 11,000 feet above mean sea level. It's a good day. Terrain's not great down there for landing, but we've got heaps of height, so we'll be fine for the moment. Although, as you can see, I'm being conservative with my speed there. Just a little below 100. I've just flown over some slightly higher terrain, as you can see behind the aircraft. A little bit of rough air, shakes the wings a bit, cruise speed. Just passing below 10,000. 26 k's, 26.7 to goal, so we're getting there. Looks like it might not be far beyond that rain shower somewhere out there. We'll find our turn point. Just having a look. I want to sneak past this rain just to the left. There's some nice lift just beyond it by the looks of it, so have a look out there. And there on the flight computer we can see that little area in red ahead of the aircraft symbol. Just gone past the rain at this point. And there it is, it's gone green, so that means we've entered the turn point sector, and we'll just turn on to the new heading and roll out in a moment. There we go. Here we are on the fourth leg of the flight, flying over some very built up areas. Still looks like there's the odd spot to land, no problems there. This leg will take us into the western portion of the landscape. Plenty of thermal lift around. Still pretty strong part of the day. Just see on the flight computer there, we're just leaving the turn point behind. Right up near cloud base here. Just over 10,500. Now we're turning quickly to stay out of cloud base. Just getting back on track before we exit the lift. Just edging the nose down there to stay out of the murkiness. And back into clear air. Just raising the tail there a bit, pushing along at 110 knots. Quite a short leg, just 74 k's as you can see there, 74.2 according to the flight computer. Of course everything's relative. 74 k's is a short leg and the whole thing's about 1,000. Just topping up our height here and a good thermal. Actually, we know there's stronger lift around, so we'll leave that thermal behind and look for something else. Here we go, we'll try this. This looks a bit better. 8-9 knots, beautiful. Small correction there, working our way towards the core. Back on track again. Now you can see off to the right there's a rain shower that hasn't hit the ground yet. It's still descending. In fact, as we continue along here, you'll notice the weather changing. It's becoming more overdeveloped. There's the rain, it's almost hit the ground now. Lots of farmland down below. Just having a look up here to make sure we get to the middle of the cloud. And there's the lift. Looks fairly decent. Approaching 10,000 feet of altitude. That's a good height. Quite a bit of rain off to the left. Starting to see that overdevelopment. In fact, there's a bit of lightning. Did you notice that just to the left? A bit more lightning. It's underneath a towering cumulus, more like a cumulonimbus it's turning into. And it looks like we'll be threading our way between rain showers before long. Not far from the turn point now. There we go, the lightning's putting on a bit of a show off the port tip. We're less than 10 k's from the turn point, so won't be long, we'll go there and head back towards the mountains. So we've rounded the turn point, as you can see on the flight computer there, heading back towards the west, almost northwest I guess. Tucking into some nice lift there. And now we're setting off. We've just left that thermal. Heavy thermal sink. Got the speed well up, as you can see, doing about almost 120 knots here. And we're still in a fairly overdeveloped part of the sky. Rain everywhere. Big shower over there, some lightning. Just slowing down a bit in anticipation of flying through some lift under these clouds. Terrain is still fairly flat, but it won't be long and we'll be in some serious rugged country. There it is up ahead in the distance. Quite a lot of lightning off to the left. It's putting on a bit of a display. Some good clouds and a decaying cloud straight in front of us there. Won't bother with that. Still fairly easy conditions. And for a short while, as we approach the mountains, the weather will become a little bit less overdeveloped, and we might get a really good climb or two before we end up in the mountains. Doesn't look very landable down there, does it? Just the occasional patch that you could put the machine down in if you had to. The idea would be to land upslope if you had to, regardless of the wind direction. Well, we've got plenty of height, over 10,000, 10.5. Just trying to work this lift under the clouds without turning much. Just approaching a valley that's got quite a lot of buildings down there, and a few landing spots too. Always pays to keep an eye out for landing spots, you never know. It's clear from this shot that you can see the terrain is sort of coming up to meet us. Whole line of wind turbines down there. I don't know if you noticed. Topping out just over 11,000, about 11.3. And we'll just be careful not to enter cloud at this point. Nose it down from time to time as necessary. And here we are, the real tiger country, as some call it. Utterly unlandable. What have we got? 15 k's, the computer's telling us. We've got about 15 k's to go to the turn point. And at this point we're seeing a few slopes come up as possibilities. If we got a little low, there's a few large slopes around that we could descend to. So here we are, leg 6, by far the longest leg of the entire flight. And there's those slopes I was talking about. We've got the breeze is coming from the north, so that's basically from the right in this perspective. But there's still plenty of thermal lift around, so we'll attempt to use mainly thermal lift on our way through. Bit of a concerning moment there with all that sink, but here we are on the slope. Looks pretty close from that angle. But now we've found a good patch of lift coming off that slope. Can be quite strong coming off sunlit slopes, of course. although with mountain thermals you often have to keep correcting in the upwind direction. A lot of cloud cover. For a while here I think we'll be skirting around just under the cloud cover. In fact, we're so high here it's difficult to see far into the distance. I'm just diving through some cloud there. It's starting to open up in front of us. Just trying to centre some lift here. There we go, straighten up for a moment, bang it back in. Now it's sort of a kind of a valley just off to the right, and we'll be trying to follow that up to get through this very rugged patch. Now we've made it through, and we're into the long wide valley that lay beyond. We'll just try and top up with a bit of height here. In theory there's a bit of slope lift all the way down here, but it's a bit irregular, so we'll stay high in thermals, I think, be the safest option. And below 8,000 here, we'd like to be a little higher. Lift seems a little harder to work around here. Just heading straight down the valley. Obviously no problems without landing, we just head for the valley if we get in trouble. As you can see out there, there's plenty of cloud over the peaks, but almost nothing directly over the valley floor, so we'll stick to the hilly areas. Just heading for a dark spot in the cloud. Let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, it's a good lift there. Just a quick glance in the direction of turn before we turn. Drop some flat and bring the speed back. Just pushing along. Have another quick circle. Looks like our cloud base is not quite the same in this area of the landscape. Even though it's mountainous, it seems like the weather has, the ceiling's gone down a touch. That will be okay. I think there's plenty of lift along the line of hills. Now at this point we've actually nipped across to the upwind side of the valley, because there's this beautiful big protrusion here from the land below, rather steep and high slope, so we thought we'd just check it out. And we've done that, and we've just moving back to the downwind side of the valley once more. As you can see by the little red bug on the computer there, we're heading somewhat left of track temporarily. We'll straighten up as soon as we hit the hills. There's the ridge in the background that we just left. And we're really hoping we can grab some thermal lift here, because those slopes don't have much angle on them, so it could get a little interesting if we got too low. And we're in heavy sink. Not very exciting, or pretty exciting depending which way you look at it. There's got to be something here somewhere. Looking around nervously, as you can see. Okay, it's just an animation, but just a bit of a joke there. And this is more like it. Getting sucked up underneath the cloud base. Now we'll just cruise along for a while. Trying to keep in touch with the lift underneath the clouds, which are basically forming a almost continuous line all the way down the left hand side of the valley. So we'll just try and dolphin soar along here. Pulling up and pushing down, that's why it's called dolphin soaring. Although I'm not doing it to a very extreme extent at the moment, just gently altering airspeed. So we're actually making pretty good progress, managing to fly through a lot of lift in a straight line, which is great. Diving out of cloud there. And now in the distance there appears to be some somewhat more soarable slopes if we had to descend a bit more. In the meantime, we're approaching another large cloud. Dropping the speed, pulling on a bit of flap. Regained some height, continuing on down the valley. How far we got to go? About 60 k's. Should chew that up fairly quickly. Now we can see those slopes up close. No problem staying up there if we had to. Quite steep. The valley doesn't look quite as flat as it was further back, but there's still some reasonable landing spaces down there if we had to go in. Just off to the left in the distance there, it's very high, some of the highest country around. Snow on the slopes. Found a nice thermal coming off this bare patch of rock. Throwing the machine around a bit. Here we are back up to around 9,000, just below. Continuing on. See that snow coming up on the left. Pretty high ground over there. Just look at that. Real alpine looking scenery out there. And looks like the valley floor has flattened out again, so plenty of landing spots down there. We've got to get around a turning point on the other side of the valley, a bit further up. It's coming up shortly. And still we're managing to hop from cloud to cloud, which seem to be fairly closely spaced along here. Which makes things fairly comfortable. And here we are approaching turn point in red. And we start turn, it goes green. Check out to the left before we turn in that direction, and here we go, lining up for the next leg. Here we are on leg 7. Quite a short leg this one, but what it doesn't have in length it makes up for in excitement. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Yeah, if you look straight ahead, that's pretty daunting. We're heading for some very high terrain, and our aim is to just squeak over that ridge in the distance and then down into a valley just beyond. First of all, obviously, we need to get some height, as much as possible in fact. We're going to try and go all the way to cloud base if we can. And here we are, approaching that ridge. I'm going to conservative airspeed so as not to waste altitude. Now with the wind direction directly behind us, we should encounter some slope lift before long, because you can see the terrain rising steeply in front of us. So that's pretty much what we're depending on. And here it comes. Still approaching it. It's looking down the valley. We've just come up. Here comes the slope itself. And looks like we'll clear that comfortably. A little bit of a rock plateau here actually, but there's another little lip here that should provide a final boost of upward flowing air. And of course there's going to be a bit of a waterfall on the other side, but never mind. We've got plenty of height, and there's that deep ravine just past the nose there, and here we go. Okay, looks like we've made it over the lip, and here we are in the steep valley just beyond that. At this point the wind's still on our tail, but very shortly we're going to edge left and pass the turn point. Told you it was a short leg. We've just rounded the turn point at this stage, and we've turned left a little, as you can see on the map there on the flight computer. So we've got the wind coming from behind us from the left. So we'll find a little bit of patchy ridge lift on the right as we go along, hopefully. Although there's quite a bit of high terrain on our left as well, so we'll see what happens. Here we go, some quite significant terrain rising up on our right, so we should find a bit of ridge lift along here, even though the direction's not ideal. And the wind's a bit stronger as well, stronger than when we left in the morning. This leg is relatively short as well. We'll just turn around and get onto this slope here, and we can pick up a bit of lift. There we go, got a few knots, couple of knots. It's all very helpful. Be nice to get up to crest level. I'm not sure that we're going to make that though. In fact, we're quite a way down the slope down here. Perhaps we should have flown a bit slower when we were still up in the mountains there after we went across. But we'll do the best we can. I'm just going to disregard thermals from now on. It's getting a little later in the day. We should be able to get all the way home in slope lift. Things are looking a little iffy here. Some quite gentle slopes in front of us, which is a little bit of a concern. So we're going to have to really stretch the glide somewhat, slow down a bit. Doesn't look so bad from this angle. But this glider's got long legs, we should be alright. As you can see on the flight computer, we're just about to hit the turn point. There it goes, just went green. Here we are on the last leg of the flight, heading towards the finish line, and things are looking a little precarious at this point. We're far down the slope. Fortunately, we're heading almost due west and the wind is directly from the left, so the angle's good. We just need to hug the slope, stay quite close, and really aim for a minimum sink rate. We're just managing to hold our own at this point. You can see we've got about 55 knots on the clock. Dropped some flap, really going for minimum sink rate, flying as close to the slope as we dare. Hopefully we can make it home. There it is in the distance, that mountain directly ahead. So we can see on the flight computer that we're getting there. Only 17 k's away. Still scraping our wingtip on the trees, just about. But the slope is looking a little better now, so it's a little steeper. So hopefully we can get just a knot or two of lift here and there, just enough to keep us up. Gain a little, lose a little. Hopefully we can maintain height on average. Just a shade under 60 knots there, still hugging the slope. And there goes the water. We're just letting go our load of water in the wings. There it is, streaming out behind. Takes a while to get rid of quite a few kilograms of water. Get a real sense of speed looking at the ship just above the slope there, and here we are heading out across the valley, leaving the slope behind because we have just enough height to make it. Not taking any chances though, we're just plodding along at barely 5 knots above best LD. And we're approaching the finish line. Getting quite close to the runway now. And there we are, we've made it across. We've just crossed the finish line, and now it's time to head towards the circuit joining area. Turning towards the hill now. There's the runway down below, just beyond the left tip. Still going a little fast, but we can pull that back later. Time for the thrust check. Flaps set for landing. Undercarriage down. And turning onto downwind leg now, and we'll need to check our speed. Just let that settle out at about 50 knots, 55 knots. Now that all the water has drained from the wings. And in a moment we'll just trim that back to 55, a little fast there at the moment. Some nice looking 3D buildings. And turning onto base leg now with the runway in the distance. Looks like we'll be turning final over the river. Now we turn onto final approach. We'll need a little brake, a little bit more. Line up a little better with the strip. Here we go. Speed's good. A bit more brake. And touching down in the grass. And we're home safe after that adventurous 1000k journey all around Slovenia, the Slovenia 3 landscape. I hope you enjoyed that flight. Subscribe now so you don't miss out later. To keep things interesting, the next video will be in another part of the world, but I'm not saying where at this point. It'll be epic though, of course.